guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to attempt to make a Pinterest inspired top. It's made of granny squares, so it's a very easy approach. I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process of how to make this top. And the materials that you'll need for this project are yarn. For the yarn, I'm using a fingering weight yarn. This is 𝗖𝗨𝗦𝗧𝗢𝗏 fingering weight yarn, and I'm using 3 colors. So I'm using white, this nude-ish color, and the brown color. The hook that I'm using for this project is a 3.75mm crochet hook, and then a darning needle and a pair of scissors, and you'll also need your measuring tape to take the measurement from one rib cage to the other side of the rib cage. So let's get started. We're going to start off with our very first color. Once you get your measurement, just note it down from one rib cage to the other rib cage, all the way across. And for me, I'm considering a measurement of 18 inches, which is for a size small to medium. So I'm going to start off with a magic ring. This. And I'm going to make a chain of 3. After a chain of 3, this chain of 3 counts as a double crochet. So you're going to go into the same magic ring with 2 more double crochets, and then you're going to make a chain of 2 and then 3 double crochets into the same magic ring. Alright, so chain 2, 3 double crochets into the magic ring. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets into the magic ring. This will be our last group of double crochets, and you should be having a total of 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, and 4 groups of 3 double crochets. At this point, you can close off the magic ring like that, and then you're going to make a chain of 2 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. So just make a slip stitch. This marks the end of round 1. Let's go on to round 2. You're going to slip stitch into each of the next 2 double crochets and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space. This will bring us to the chain 2 space here. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and then place 2 more double crochets into the chain 2 space, and then chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. So that counts as a shell. A shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. After this, you're going to chain 1, go into the next chain 2 space with a shell. So 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Chain 1, go into the next chain 2 space with a shell. Like that. Chain 1, go into the next chain 2 space with a shell. Alright, so once you have your very last shell, you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round into the topmost chain of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round and make a slip stitch. After this, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So you're going to have 2 rounds of the very first color. Let's go on to the next color, which is the nude color. Alright, so get whatever color that you've chosen to use for your project and you're going to make a slip knot. So we're going to attach this slip knot onto the chain one space right before the chain that we left behind, that strand that we left behind after cutting our last color, our previous color. So just go into the chain one space and attach your yarn, and then make a chain of 3, and into that same space you're going to place 2 more double crochets, and that will count as 3 double crochets since the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And then chain 1, this is a corner, and every corner gets a shell, and a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. Alright, so this is what you should have. Chain 1, each chain 1 space gets only 3 double crochets, so you're going to have to note that. And then chain 1, each chain 2 space is always located at the corner, and it always gets a shell. Alright, so chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, shell into the next corner, okay, so chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 1 shell into the corner or the chain 2 space. Like that. Chain 1, slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. After this, you're going to chain 1, cut your yarn. This is what you should have. You should have a perfect square at this point. Now we're going to introduce our third color, which is the dark brown. And we're going to just repeat the same exact process as we did for round 3, which is the nude color. So just attach your yarn into the chain 1 space right before the strand that you left behind for your previous color, chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then 2 double crochets into the same space to make a total of 3 double crochets. So now we have 3 double crochets there, chain 1. Each chain 1 space gets 3 double crochets, so note that. And after this, you're going to make a chain of 1. This is a corner, it gets a shell. After this, you're going to make a chain of 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, a shell into the chain 2 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, a shell into the chain 2 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and place a shell into the very last chain 2 space of the round. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. Alright, after this you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. And then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So feel free to use whatever color of your choice. So now I'm going to attach my next color, which will be white. Alright, now we are going to go onto our next color, which is white. And we are going to attach the same exact way as we were doing before. Just go into the space before the tail that we left behind for our previous color. Chain 3, which counts as the very first double crochet. 2 more double crochets into the same space. And then chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, this is a corner, so it will receive a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And then you're going to go all the way around, completing this round, just like we've been doing for the previous rounds. And also, another thing that you have to note is, for me, this is my very last color. This is the boundary color, so I'll explain the measurements when I'm done with this round. So we are working our very last corner and we're placing a shell into it. And after this, you're going to chain 1, and then you are going to slip stitch on top of the very first chain 3 of the round. And then you're going to make your chain of 1 and cut your yarn. And then you pull through. So this is what you'll have for your granny square. you're going to make sure that for the measurement that we got for our very first measurement, that's across the rib cage from one end to the other, this measurement is a third of that measurement when stretched. So I have 6 inches, and I measured a total of 18 inches for myself. So 6 inches will work for me, because we're going to have a total of 3 of these across the chest. So you're going to have to make sure that whatever granny square that you do for your size is a third of the measurement that you got in the beginning. So a third is, okay, like divide by 3. The measurement divide by 3. This is what you're going to consider. So since I had 18, divide by 3 is 6, and I have that when slightly stretched. So you're going to go ahead and make some more granny squares the same exact way as you can see this. For these granny squares, you're going to stop on the second last round, and you're going to go ahead and make a total of 8 of them. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is the 9th granny square. So we're going to start adding these granny squares onto what we already have. So this will be the topmost granny square. Let me try to zoom out so that we can see exactly what's going on. So this is going to be the topmost granny square. You're going to get your yarn and hook, and you're going to get your second granny square. Make sure all these granny squares are until the second last color of your granny square. So if you needed, let me say, a total of 9 rounds for yours. For me, I did a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 rounds for the granny square to get the size that I wanted. But of course, when you're a bigger size than me, you may consider about 7 rounds. So that means you're going to interchange the colors until you get the size that you want for your measurement. Now, whatever colors that you choose to use, make sure for these granny squares you stop on the second last round or the second last color of the complete granny square. All these ones are incomplete, and this is the only complete one. So let's go ahead and start attaching our next granny squares. So I'm attaching my yarn into the chain before the strand that we left behind for our previous color. So you're going to make a chain of 3 double crochets. So we're working the same exact way as we did for the granny square. The only difference is now we're going to start attaching these granny squares onto what we already have. So it's chain 1, 3 double crochets, and when you get to the corner, you're going to place a shell. Now, I think I'm going to place my, I'm going to attach my granny square onto this side. So instead of placing a shell, I'm going to place 3 double crochets, chain 1, attach into one of the corners of the complete granny square, like that, chain 1 more, and then 3 double crochets into the same chain 2 space to complete the corner of this granny square. And after that, you're going to chain 1, remove your hook, leave this loop behind. I hope you can see it, that loop. Insert your hook into the next chain 1 space, pull through the loop, and then 3 double crochets onto the incomplete granny square into the next chain 1 space. So this is what we are having. So you can see we are attaching chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space on the complete one, pull through the loop, and then 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space of the incomplete granny square. So while we work this granny square to complete it, we are attaching this square onto this square. So if you prefer to use any other method, please go ahead and use it. You can use your darning needle. You can make these granny squares and finish them completely. and then you attach them using a darning needle or a single crochet stitch. That's also valid, that's okay, but I prefer to join as I go. So chain 1, remove your hook, attach into the next space on this side, and then now we are in the corner, so we are going to place 3 double crochets. Chain 1, remove your hook, go into this corner, attach, and then chain 1 more, because this is a corner and it had to get a total of two chains in between the 3 double crochets. So we place 1 before we attach and 1 after we attach, and then after that you're going to place 3 double crochets into the same chain 2 space. So once you're done with this, you can see what we have right now. We're going to just go ahead and complete our round as usual. Chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Now this brings us back to what we were doing before we started attaching. So just go back to what you did for the previous rounds and complete your round. So we're placing our very last shell in the last corner, and after that you're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch on top of the chain 3 of the first chain 3 of the round. So after your slip stitch, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So this is what you should have. Now you're going to place your work like this and get your next granny square, which will be this one. So your next granny square is going to attach onto this side. So let's see how to do that. Attach your yarn in the chain 1 space right before the strand we left behind for the previous color. Okay, chain 3, 2 more double crochets into the chain 1 space to make a total of 3 double crochets. So this is what you'll have. So chain 1, three double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Now this is a corner, so we're going to place 3 double crochets and chain 1, and we're going to start attaching onto this side of this granny square. Only this one. We are not going to attach onto this one, so keep that in mind. Just place your work as you see it on the screen. So we're going to attach into this corner like this, chain 1 and 3 more double crochets into the incomplete granny square. And we're going to start attaching just like we did for the first granny square. I hope you still remember. If you don't, please rewind the video and see how I explained it. Chain 1, attach, and then 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space on the incomplete granny square, chain 1, attach into the next chain 1 space on the complete one, and then place 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space of the incomplete one. Chain 1, attach, and then this is a corner, so you're going to place 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1, because this is a corner. You're going to attach into the middle section of these 2 granny squares. Just attach there like this, and then chain 1 and 3 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. So that way we have attached our next granny square on one side. So you can see what that has created. So you're going to go ahead and complete this round as usual. Just complete this granny square without attaching it to anything else. So I'm placing a slip stitch into the very top chain of the first chain 3, chain 1, and cut your yarn, pull through. So this is what you should have. Now we're going to go on to our next granny square, and this granny square is going to go into the middle section here, like that, so that we make a perfect square, and then we shall work outwards. So we attach our yarn as usual and first work the first side. So now we are in the corner, so we're going to place 3 double crochets like this, and then chain 1 and attach into this one. So we're going to attach onto this side and onto this side. This time we're attaching 2 sides of this granny square onto what we already have. So just watch what I'm doing. The attaching process is the same. So if you mastered exactly what I did for the previous granny squares, this should be a walkover for you. So I've reached the next corner and I'm placing 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then attaching into the middle section of all the granny squares. Just find a middle loop and attach, chain 1 more, and then go into the same chain 2 space with 3 double crochets. Now the difference here is we are continuing to join this granny square on this side onto the next granny square, which is this one. So we are attaching this corner onto the corner on this side, chain 1, 3 more double crochets, and you can see what that has created. We now have 4 granny squares that are perfectly joined. So you're going to finish up this granny square, this one, as usual, just like we did for the previous granny squares. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and this is the last corner, so I am placing my last shell into that corner. Okay, now you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. Just make a slip stitch, chain 1 and cut your yarn. Pull through. This is what you'll have. You can see your top starting to come together. So you're going to get your next granny square and attach it to this one, to this granny square right here. And then you're going to get the next one and attach it here. So I'm going to do that real quick because now we know exactly how to go about the joining. Guys, look what we have right now. Now we are going to go ahead and attach our next granny square right here. Just like we've done here, we have a total of 3 in this line. We need a total of 3 in this line. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm getting done with my very last stitch, and this is what you should have. So far we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you should be left with your 3 granny squares that are incomplete, that are just waiting to be attached onto the piece that we are working with right now. So this is what you should have. Now let's go on to the next ones. Just like we did this one, that we attached it in the middle, we're going to attach this one and this one, just like we did for this middle one. So we attached 2 sides of the incomplete granny square onto this side and this side, and this side and this side for this one. So go ahead and do that. So when you're done attaching the 2 sides, which is this one and this one, you just complete your granny square as usual. So go ahead and do the same for the next granny square and fit it into this space, joining 2 sides of it onto this side and this side. Okay, so this is what you should have. And you should be left with 1 granny square that is going to be attached into this space. So just like we've done these ones, attaching 2 sides of the incomplete one, we're going to attach this granny square onto this space, attaching two sides of this incomplete granny square onto this side and this side. So guys, this is what we have at the end, and you can put it against yourself and see if it's going to fit. If it doesn't really fit, then you can do some rounds of single crochets on the boundary or on the edge of your work. Now from here we're going to make a long chain for our strap. So I think I'm going to double my strand so that I can get something a little bit thicker than these strands that we've been using to crochet. So I'm going to double my strand, and I'm going to make a slip knot and make a chain of 150. So So after your 150 chains, you're going to go into the corner here. Any corner, it can be this one, it can be this one, it can be this one. Any corner of the square, and make a single crochet. And make sure where you place that single crochet is the upper side of your top, because these straps are going to wrap around your neck and then to the back side of the top. So after a single crochet here, you're going to make a chain of 150. Alright, after your 150 chains, you're going to cut your yarn and pull through. So you will have two straps of 150. Now when you turn your work to the wrong side, you'll see all these loose strands lying around. You're going to have to get rid of them, tying or using a darning needle, I don't know. And I want to do one final thing for my top. I don't think this is the edge that I want for it. I just feel like it's not neat enough. So I'm going to get my yarn, still with a double strand, and I am going to go all the way around the top just to create a firm edge for it. So I'm going to start from this point where I placed my straps. So I'm going to go into the chain 2 space and attach my yarn there, and I'm going to go into each and every double crochet stitch with a single crochet. And remember, this time we are using a double strand, so these stitches are going to be much more stronger than what we had before. So into the chain 1 spaces, you're going to just place 1 double crochet. Alternatively, you can just go into the spaces. I think this is going to create a very good finish. So I go into the chain 1 space and then go in between the stitches, each space in between the stitches, and you can see what this is creating. So I'm going to just go all the way around my work, doing this to just create a very neat finish for my work. This is what you will create. This is much better than what we have here. So when you get to this space where the 2 granny squares meet, just place 1 on this side and 1 on the opposite side, and continue to place 1 single crochet in between the stitches. So when you get to the corners, you will place a total of 3 single crochets. So this is 1, 2, and 3, and then go on to the next side. So go all the way around. I'll meet you back at the beginning of the single crochet round. Alright guys, so I've made it all the way around the edge of the top, and I'm placing my very last single crochet into the chain 2 space, and from here I'm going to slip stitch into the single crochet that attached to the straps. I'm going to just slip stitch there, chain 1, cut, pull through. And now you're going to go to the back side and get rid of all these loose strands. I'm going to do that real quick, and I come back and show you how to assemble your top. So what I'm doing right now is just tying the strands that are at the same point, that point where I was joining the yarn, the new yarn next to the tail of the previous color. Those are the strands that I'm getting rid of, and every strand that doesn't have any strand next to it, I'm just leaving it behind. I'll use a darning needle to weave it in. So I'm going to get my darning needle and weave in all these tails. These are the tails that didn't have any tail next to them. So Okay guys, after getting rid of all your loose strands, your work should look like this. And now you're going to turn it to the wrong side, and as you can see, we no longer have those loose strands lying around. You're also going to cut off these extra strands on the straps just to have a neat finish. And now you're going to get one of the straps, cross it over to this side into the chain 2 space, that way like this, and then you get the next one and cross it over to this side like that. And this is how your top will look like. You're going to tie here with a knot, and this is how it will wrap around your body. So the front side will be like this. These 2 straps will go around your neck all the way to the back. And this is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll be leaving some photos and videos of the top on the screen for you guys to see the final finish. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.